Classic.
Oh, okay, that's not a great catchphrase. Kind of like boring.
That could certainly be better.
No, but it was like, oh, and that was a total Yahtzee.
Okay, does he naturally speak like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't like it.
Same. Okay.
He wore sweater vests every day.
What?
This guy sounds amazing.
Okay, not every day, but the sweater vests were an integral part of his style.
All right. So just so you know, our stream is up and it's going through the fix page.
Sweet.
Yay!
Okay.
I got a cool little sidebar notification about that in my
Yeah.
browser.
Neat. I have no idea how to share this to the group, though. Okay, let's do that, and then that. Yes. And then that. Yes. Okay, we're all good. I'm going to send that to the Giant Bomb group, and then from that respect, we're good. And it is up and away. So I think we Gucci.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Born ready.
Awesome. I'm glad it actually is episode 16 because I had that written in my notes. I'll just wait for Fiona to finish.
I haven't thought of anything funny to say.
Well, you've got like a whole minute to think of anything funny.
That's too much pressure.
Dude, no, it isn't funny though. This week's Garfields. So I send Erica the daily Garfield every day. I should just start sending it to the group. But
Literally every day.
literally, yeah, like for probably what, like 3 months, Erica, probably, right?
Yeah, probably.
And
It's funny.
I enjoy it.
but yeah, like this recent string of Garfields has just been terrible. Oops. Yeah, all of them have been bad.
I had like a decent one the last 2 days, but
Yeah.
decent by comparison.
Yeah.
Have you been hearing about this Nancy comic?
Yeah, I keep hearing about it.
No.
Have you read any of the stuff that people are talking about?
Yeah, I have.
I was surprised that it's actually funny.
Yeah, it was actually pretty charming. I was like, this isn't bad.
The Nancy
Okay.
comics, you mean?
A new person took over writing them.
Oh, interesting. Have you ever seen the documentary called Stripped?
Mm-mm.
It's really good. It's all about comic strip writers, and like it's kind of a documentary that goes through the ages, so like the start of the newspaper revolution and stuff like that, and then eventually gets to like web comics and stuff. It's really cool.
So yeah, someone like it's like an 80-year-old comic strip, and like it hadn't really changed in style or like humor or anything, and then someone new took over and they kind of modernized it. And now there are people who are very upset about it.
People will be upset about anything on the internet.
No.
Internet. People are never upset by that.
The net. Okay, right. Stopwatch running. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Everybody else, sorry about the delay there.
It's okay.
Okay.
Use Windows 10.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of Gaming Fix, the world's first, best, and only podcast recorded by 6 friends who met on the internet about video games and associated nerd shit.
Yeah, accurate.
Today I will be your Allfather Sam.
No.
We've got God of Mischief Alex.
Yeah, hi.
Nobody was prepared for this.
Be Freya, because Freya is pulled by like a chariot of cats.
God of cool BB-8 merchandise, Alison.
Hey, that's right.
The God of Japan, Andre.
Not really how that works.
He may have been your all father, but he ain't your all daddy.
And then another awesome god of cool glasses and haircuts, Erica.
It's not a haircut, but I'll take the glasses.
Oh, it looks like a new haircut. Okay.
I parted it to the side today. If you were here on time, you would have known.
Oh.
He's a god of being
Damn
late.
it.
That's what you are.
Erica's god of shade.
Got sick burns, Erica. And then our best boy, Pat.
Don't you mean best boy?
Oh yeah.
Best
Boy.
So today we're going to be talking about video games. A couple of people will be talking about the same video game. So I think it might be interesting to leave that one till the end.
Yes.
So Alex is bucking the trend and not talking about a video game.
Yeah, which I rarely do anyways because I haven't played video games.
That's as a wise man, my fear is to talk too much about video games.
Wow, that's an alchemical way for you to phrase that. But I actually did play a video game this week. I played this one that came out on Sony PS4. It's called God of War, but we're going to talk about that later. So let's not even touch that for the moment.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that doesn't exist for now.
No one would have known.
What? What are
Yeah.
we talking
Who could have
about?
I don't know. I don't know. It's some Dog of War. I think it comes out of the UK or something. But
It's about like a Japanese gang, and you play it. It's like 6 games.
yeah, there's like tattoos involved. Anyways, before I get to what I'm going to talk about, I mentioned this before we started the cast, but I think my PS4 is getting sick. I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this where you go into a menu item, like for my example, I went into library and hit X and it took like 15 to 20 seconds just to get in there, and then doing anything else took another 30 seconds, and I don't know. Do you guys think I need to reformat it or what?
This isn't a technical advice podcast, but
To be honest, I would try reformatting it, and if that doesn't work, you could open it up and see if you need to reapply thermal paste.
Oh yeah.
There's the factory thermal paste they put in the PS4 CPUs sucks.
Okay.
So
And
sometimes that can be the problem.
it is a launch PS4, so it could be due.
That
Okay.
happened to mine, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it back because it died, but the CPU just got fried. So even reapplying the paste didn't save it.
Oh god, I hope my PS4 doesn't
Yeah.
explode.
I would recommend trying a new hard drive because it kind of sounds like a hard drive issue, and using a compressor on the fan.
All right.
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again?
I turn it on to the best of my ability, but you know.
Boing.
Anyways, so in my free time, I've
Reference
actually
to a
been
really
doing.
old SNL sketch. I'm sorry, everyone.
Sorry. Anyways,
It's a joke that's very
yeah.
popular in my house.
Ew. Anyways, in my free time, I've actually been doing like a ton of reading recently, just because I haven't had video game stuff set up very easily. So over the past week, past 7 days, I have finished 4 books, and I even started a 5th one this morning. So here, as a list, here are the 4 completed books, which first was The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Second was The Slow Regard of Silent Things, also by Patrick Rothfuss. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And finally, Anxiety as an Ally by Dan Reichert. So, I'm not going to go in depth on all those books because each of them could warrant their own discussion. But I'll talk about each of them briefly in the order from the one I enjoyed the least to the one that I enjoyed the most. And if you've seen me talking about it, the one I enjoyed the least should not come as any kind of surprise. It was The Alchemist. Oh my god. I don't want to give it much time because I don't like to focus on things I have a really negative opinion on, but I really hated that book. Has anybody else here read it? I know, Pat, you said you started it, but...
Yeah, I started it, but I couldn't get very far in it. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it was just trite and self-righteous, and like it's kind of a self-improvement kind of self-help kind of book, but it approaches the whole topic from a really narcissistic perspective. Like,
Yeah.
it basically encourages people to act in like really selfish ways to get what they want, like ignoring the feelings and criticisms of anybody who happens to be around them to achieve their goals. And like, for example, like if there's people, like if there's other people that you're around who don't know what they want in life, or they do know and they're not pursuing it, then the book basically disregards their opinions or looks down on them, and they're like, oh, they're lesser people because they're not as good as you for being woke.
Yeah.
It seems extremely uncool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
This book was written in 2 weeks in 1987.
that doesn't surprise me. It's also very poorly written, but it's also translated from Portuguese, so I don't know. Yeah, I really hated it. I thought it promoted a really unhealthy point of view, and I can't recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I felt like it belittled the notion that sometimes it's okay to have small dreams too. And
Yeah.
that was the thing I in particular found kind of offensive about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like, yeah, you got to go all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Bad book, but whatever. It was worth reading to have an opinion on it. The book I enjoyed slightly more than that, and I would say more than slightly because I did not hate it at all, was Anxiety as an Ally by Dan Reichert. So, for context, for me, I don't really talk about it that much on podcasts or anything, but I have been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and clinical depression, so that sucks. But it was a really positive experience to read that book from someone I know and respect, and seeing him kind of opening up about his struggles with mental health, like in a very, very just direct way. So I think if you had come to this book never having heard of Dan before, I'm not sure how impactful of a read it would be, because you have no idea who this guy is. But if you know who he is and you've seen his interactions with other people and stuff like that, it would probably be a pretty surprising read. Like, he's very candid about times in his life where he was like super overwhelmed by anxiety or panic attacks and stuff like that. And it was interesting because I could see a lot of my own experiences kind of reflected in that. And he also approaches it from a way of like he doesn't want to fix, like, quote unquote, fix his problems. It's more about not trying to fix or overcome them, but instead like how to accept them and grow along with them, which I thought was a really good message. And actually, along that message, Allison, there's a certain game this year that we both like that kind of has that theme.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought the book was pretty good, but truthfully, I thought it was maybe a little bit too anecdotal for my tastes. Like, he comes out at the very start and says, hey, I'm not a doctor, I'm not qualified to give you medical advice, and I think that's all good. But it was more like reading a memoir than anything else, and a lot of the stories that he tells have already come up in other places, like especially in Dancers. So if you've ever listened to Dancers, you've already read about 3/4 of this book. I still think it was totally worth a read, and everything that he says and is promoting is worth considering, like especially when you get to meditation, mindfulness, exercise, stuff like that. But it was kind of redundant if you have listened to Dancers. So
Cool.
yeah,
I like that book a lot.
I like it too. I think
Yeah.
if had you listened to Dancers before you had seen it or read it,
I
Erika?
didn't. I didn't keep up with Dancers at all, so I think
Yeah.
that's probably why I was really hot on it, because I
Yeah.
hadn't heard all of that stuff before.
Yeah, totally. Like he talks about all the same stuff in Dancers, which I think is awesome. It was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it got me to meditate, and I feel like meditating has impacted my life
Oh, I agree.
more significantly than pretty much anything I have added to my life since trying to overcome some anxiety and attention issues I have. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I highly recommend meditating if you've never tried it before, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually the next book I started was one that he recommended. That was the 10% Happier by Dan Harris.
Yeah, I read
So-
that book too. That's also a really, really good book,
Yeah, so-
because, for me personally, I don't like the woo parts of like meditating and stuff. They call it the smells and bells type meditation.
Yeah.
That's not for me. And so it was kind of nice to see, that, hey, you could do this and have it affect you positively without getting into like, okay, here's some chimes and some chants and stuff. Which I'm not saying is like a bad way to meditate. Like if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but that's just not what I want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Like the way Dan describes it is like, yeah, there's nothing spiritual about it. It's actually just about kind of finding your place, which is great.
Yeah.
Anyways, good book.
I don't meditate, but I do like some sorts of mindfulness, and that's been really helpful for me. So
Yeah.
I do think that's really worthwhile.
Same here, though I kind of haven't been doing it as consistently, though I'm going to get back into it. Anyways, next book. I'm going to try and not say a lot about it because there's a lot to say. And unfortunately, Sam has stepped away, so he's the only one I could ask for opinions on parts of this, but that's okay. So the next one is The Wise Man's Fear, which is the second book in the Kingkiller Chronicle series, so with The Name of the Wind being the first. So that's the book I talked about probably a week or two ago that I had finished and I thought was pretty good. This is the sequel, or the second in the series. And the first thing I'm going to say is that it is very long. It is 1,000 pages and about 400,000 words, so I'm not even going to start trying to sum up its story because that's just not going to happen. I think that the author, Patrick Rothfuss, has a really particular strength in conveying really vivid imagery with few words. So the fact that his book was so long and there are so many words meant that like the entire time was a really expansive vista that he was describing the whole time, which was really cool. He also has created a really extremely compelling cast of characters, and some of them, like a few of them, I would say are probably my favorite characters in fiction right now, and I'll talk a little bit about one of them in a second. But Sam, you've read Wise Man's Fear, right?
Yes, I have read this book.
So I'm going to say for the book itself, I thought the first half was really fantastic and very comparable to Name of the Wind. But I thought there's a certain point you get to in the latter half where everything kind of goes weird and I wasn't so fond of. I think the whole way through the writing and characters and plot were great. But once you get to that part, the pacing of everything just completely just slows and comes to a stop, and it was really jarring. And then after that, in like the last 100 pages or so, like the pace goes to light speed. Like it's just really insanely fast. And it's just like, what is going on?
I can't remember anything about this book because I read it on release and I didn't really like it.
Fair enough.
So,
do you?
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I love the first book, but I basically was just really disappointed with it because it didn't get better, and it wasn't even as good. Like I was expecting it to be better than the first book because a lot of fantasy, like for me, my favorite fantasy series, usually the second book is the best. I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah,
but it's good, and I would say that everyone should read Name of the Wind 100%. But I didn't really like Wise Man's Fear very much. I will definitely read the third book when it comes out.
The Doors of Stone. That is coming out whenever it comes out. But I think I think I liked it more than you did. I thought even though the pacing ended up being a little unpredictable, I still came away from it as a pretty big fan. Like I'd say they're probably about equal in my mind for quality. I just think the pacing was kind of crappy in the other one.
Yeah.
But anyways, not to take too much time, the last book that I read was unquestionably my favorite, and that was The Slow Regard of Silent Things. And so it was recommended to me by my best friend, who is the same friend who recommended the Kingkiller Chronicles to me. So thank you to Affy. I don't know if she's actually listening, but that's fine. And the first thing she said to me was, it's the kind of book that people either completely love or completely hate. And having finished it, I can totally see why. And I happen to fall on the love side of it very hard. So this is also written by Patrick Rothfuss, and it technically comes from the Kingkiller Chronicle series, so Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear. But it's this totally self-contained side story about one of the semi-regular characters named Ari. And as soon as I found out that's what it was, I was super happy to know that she got her own story, because whenever I read the other books and got to any of her parts where she was in it, like she was always the best character. She's lighthearted and quirky and strange and like endearing the entire way through. I sent to the chat, I sent a little excerpt just to see her kind of tone. I don't know if any of you guys read it, but she's just so adorable. But the thing that makes people either hate or love the book is it's written in a really unique and weird way that's like truly and wellly all about her. Like there are no other characters in the entire book. It follows a week in her life, and because she actively avoids human contact, which, you know, I can relate to, the majority of the book is what's going through her head as she does like really weird and strange things. Like there's an entire 8-page section which is purely about her making soap.
I kind of love the idea of this.
Yeah,
and
it's
I kind of need to read this.
yeah, but
And she
I guess
she licks her hand and puts the lie on. It's the-
yeah, and then it turns out she's actually Tyler Durden. But no, there are like I was kind of wrong. There are technically other characters, but none of them speak, like per se. So like your only exposure to them is from her perspective. So one of them is named Foxen, and he's the light inside of her lamp. Another one is Fulcrum, and he's this big brass gear that Ari had fished out of a body of water, like stuff like that. Like she's sensitive to the feelings of these objects and stuff, and it's really unique. But the reason I fell so heavily on the love side of it is because Ari's story was actually really incredibly relatable. Like the night I read it, I was actually having a pretty bad night because of depression and stuff. So I'd put my phone into airplane mode, turned off the computer, and just like read, just kind of lost myself in a book. And the first few chapters are exactly what I was expecting because of her character in the other books, like just eccentric and whimsical and stuff like that. But once you got to like the third and fourth days, the tone really changed, and you actually get to see like this person who's usually really happy-go-lucky, weird kind of thing, struggling. Like the entire third chapter is one sentence, and then you move on to the fourth chapter, and like she's just breaking down and crying and feels like everything is going wrong all at once, like little things and big things, and she has panic attacks, and she gets lost and she gets frustrated, and it's just a side of her character that you don't ever get to see otherwise, and it was handled extremely well. So like I can totally see my friend's statement why people would say they'd love or hate it because of just the unique way that it's approached, and also the subject matter being kind of dark at points. But so I don't know if I can entirely recommend it for that reason, or if I should or shouldn't, but I'm really looking forward to rereading it, and I usually don't reread books so soon after having read them the first time. So yeah,
That's
totally
good.
recommend that one.
How do you read so fast? I want to read 4 books in a week. Like I have had the same book on my nightstand for like a month, and I'm nowhere near finishing it.
To be fair, I think The Alchemist was like 180 pages, Anxiety is an Ally was 200, and Slow Regard of Silent Things was like 200 as well. So they're not that long.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tend to. I think if I concentrated, I could read half a book a night, but
Yeah.
depends on the book, obviously. And
It's kind of like I find that reading is something that it's easy for me to get distracted from. That's why I tend to only invest the time to finish books that I'm really engaged in. But it's kind of like reading like 5 or 6 pages of a book before I go to sleep is a recipe for me to have a book sit there for a year. Whereas if I just say I'm not going to play video games tonight, I'm going to take those 3 hours and read a book, I can finish a book in 2 days that way. If I do it that way, it's just the focus.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
a lot of it is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's pretty much the same for me. Where there are certain books where if I don't put it down, I read it in a couple days. But then, if I get distracted by literally everything else, then I just don't read it for a while.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I have a lot of trouble focusing, especially with books and stuff. So I tend to reread the same line a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I catch myself doing that pretty often, which is why I really like reading comic books digitally, because I can do that guided view and look at like one panel at a time, which is super nice. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just I want to read more than I do, but it's hard for me to get through a book.
Sorry. Do any of you guys engage with audiobooks?
I occasionally.
I have in the past.
Yeah,
just
I
the
have
Harry
as well.
Potter ones. Just the Harry Potter ones.
I
The
really
Harry
like
Potter
them.
ones are so good.
I listen to audiobooks to go to sleep sometimes because I have to have something on while I'm going to sleep. So it's usually audiobooks or podcasts.
If I have a lot of work that when I worked my last job, a lot of times you'd have like mindless jobs where I was like running cable or doing something like that that was like technical enough that I needed to do it and I couldn't just have someone on site do it, but easy enough that I didn't really need to think. So when I did stuff like that, I would do it, and then sometimes on longer car trips I'll do it. I do like that format of book consumption, but it's definitely not for everyone.
And for me, my dad is dyslexic and he listens to a lot of audiobooks in the car. So if I'm in the car with him, then I listen to them, but I find it hard, like if I'm in my house and listening to them, because I feel like my attention tends to fade pretty quickly.
Me too. That's my biggest problem with audiobooks is we can stop talking about books after this, but
are we 25 minutes into a book discussion?
21. We started after 4 minutes. I wrote that down. Anyways, I tend to like listening to podcasts is fine because it's like listening to a conversation. You can kind of zone out for 5 minutes and still know what's going on. But I found out like if I kind of zone out during a book, I'll be completely lost for a bit and have to rewind all the time. So
yeah. That's why I kind of only listen to specific audiobooks. There's one that I was really into. I'm blanking on the title right now, but where it's very, very internal and very personal. So it felt really suited to being kind of read to you. But yeah, especially if there's a lot going on, then I feel very like, wait, what happened? And have to go back and can't do it while I do anything else. So
yeah.
Anyways, video games.
I was
What
going
are
to say,
those?
let's finish this off with a really cool 2 seconds. Everybody recommend a book. So I'll go first. Alex, you've already gone. So I read about 3 months ago a book called The Good Father by Noah Hawley. It's really cool. Noah Hawley is the creator of Fargo and Legion. So if you're interested in those shows, he wrote a really awesome book. Alison?
I've recommended this before, and I'm going to recommend it again. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It's Mass Effect meets Firefly, and it's delightful. And I need to find more books like it because I love it so much.
Andre?
John dies at the end. It's like a comedy horror supernatural thing. It's pretty
And
fun.
an awesome movie also.
Oh no, that movie's terrible.
I liked it. I thought it was great.
That is one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
Man, wow. All right.
Let me
Wow.
introduce you to The Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan.
That movie's not that bad.
I mean, the movie's really dumb, but it's pretty fun. I thought it was entertaining.
And
That movie's
Erica?
trash.
I think actually the last book that I read that I really loved is actually 10% Happier. So I would probably recommend that.
Pat?
I have. I'm going to go ahead and recommend the New York trilogy because it's what popped in my head. It's actually kind of from the '80s, so it's not new, but it's a Paul Auster trilogy, and it's kind of like metafictional, and it's kind of one of the early works actually described as postmodern by critics, which it's like a super is a genre that has been taken in some super shitty places, but it's a cool series and it's short.
Speaking of shitty places, Andre, what have you been playing?
What is that? Is that about Japan?
Talos 1 is actually kind of a shitty place.
That was it.
It's inhabited by all these like little aliens. Some are big aliens, little aliens that disguise themselves as like coffee cups. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna just take my coffee cup's empty, and then you're dead. Yeah, so I've been playing Prey. I'm like 20 hours in, I think, or 11. I'm either 11 or 20 now. I don't remember. Kind of but yeah. So if it's an immersive sim by Arcane, and kind of a reboot. Not kind of. It is a reboot of Prey. I never played the original Prey for the Xbox. But it's so you're on a space station and you're like injecting yourself with these neuromods that give you like powers. They can teach you how to do like anything, but then like if you get them removed, it wipes your memory, or at least it wipes your memory back until the point that you got the neuromod. and so your characters had this happen a bunch of times, and so you're trying to figure out what happened and where all the people went and yada yada. I have been going through not using the alien powers because I thought that would be a fun way to navigate the game. I think the alien powers are probably fun too. I made a choice at some point. I was like, you know what? No alien powers. That's so I've been using like guns and hacking things and lifting heavy objects. Uh, I'm really enjoying it. If I had played it last year, it definitely would have made my game of the year list and probably knocked Near Automata off.
Damn.
Yeah, that was my number 10 game. So that
Pat's
was
just
just like
shaking his head.
Prey is a great game.
it's so good. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'll probably talk about it more like sometime next month because yeah, we'll see.
Are you playing it on like the normal difficulty?
Yeah, I think so.
I-
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah, so I started playing it, and that game is like one of the better immersive sims that has, I think, been made. It's really, really good. It's clear that like Arcane learned a lot from all the other immersive sims that they have made and that have come out over the years. It takes a lot of inspiration from BioShock, actually. I felt the way its environments are constructed.
There's
But-
a lot of like, there's water on the ground here, and this guy has electricity, and now I'm
Yeah.
getting shocked, and my gun doesn't work because it's electric, and yeah.
And I just found that game so stressful. I only played about half of it, and then I had to tap out.
It is like a horror immersive sim. So
It's
yeah,
not even the horror part. Like I got used to the guys that are the everyday
mimics.
objects, like the mimics, yeah. And the big guys I didn't find them that scary. It was more stressful because I felt like there was a ton of resource management and a lot of like very like, I just want to shoot this gun at this guy, but I can't waste the bullets because I'm gonna have like 4 of them for the next 6 hours. And it was hard. It's so well designed and the world is so incredible and so many of the systems are amazing, but it's just the scarcity of resources was hard for me to deal with. I wonder if playing it on an easier difficulty. So I Zelda is far, because in Zelda you can just go say like, I'm out of weapons, I'm gonna run here and do a camp and get some weapons. In this game it's like, I am out of ammo, I have gone into all the rooms that have ammo, there's no more ammo until I get to the next area. And I wonder if maybe it's just because I was bad at it, and if I played it on an easier difficulty, if I would have an easier time.
I have not run out of ammo at any point. I think I've got all the weapons at this point.
You're probably
kinda
farther than I
stumbling.
got too.
Yeah, I'm pretty far.
Mhm.
Once I beat it, I want to look up like a speed run because I understand that you can beat that game like
Yeah.
in like 5 minutes or something, which is really cool. I like looking up speed runs like that. I want to like look up the Resident Evil 7 speed run, but that's not like a weird, goofy immersive sim one.
Yeah, I fully intend to get back to Prey. It's kind of like I'm waiting until I feel good about starting it from the beginning again, because I remember too much to want to play it all over again, but I don't remember enough to feel like I can jump back into where I was. So I will play through it though, because it's a great game.
Did either of you guys play Metro?
A little bit, not
Which
finished.
Metro?
Like it just kind of just from the description. I haven't played Prey. I've seen the quick look and stuff like that, but that kind of makes it sound like it's got like an original Metro vibe.
If you've played the Dishonored games, I mean they're very similar, except one's sci-fi, one's fantasy steampunk.
And
I really-
Arcane.
I really think that like BioShock is a fairly direct analog too, because the thing about Prey that I found that was kind of my favorite part was the environments all like the whole game exists in one load basically. Like the all of the geometry of the world is present in the structure of the space station. So it's not like there's sequences where you go outside of the space station and you can actually, I think it was at a GDC talk, it might have just been in an interview, but Arcane talked about this, like you can actually jet around the space station and go and see, like look through windows that are way later in the game that you're in that room. And it's really cool. It's an amazing feat of like level design and architectural design. And the question I heard asked of them was like, did you guys worry about this? Because like you can kind of like catch a spoiler through a window if someone decides to jet up to the spot. And they were like, they do. That's that we had to build the space, and it's I think that's awesome. And that
but
cool.
It's such a much more like organic way to design the game. Like you don't have to go in any particular order. There was something where I started to go like to some area and like without doing like the main objective thing, and then like the person who's talking to you over the radio is like, hey, wait, why are you going? Oh, did you know that the elevator's broken? Oh, okay, well, blah blah blah. So like they're like have things built in to notice like, oh, I'm not doing what it wants me to do. I'm going somewhere sooner than I should.
And you can make stairs with that goo gun. So like you can use the goo gun to go anywhere, and it like from the beginning of the game, you'll just probably die.
Yeah.
Speaking of dying a lot, Erica, you've been playing a game that is notorious for multiple deaths.
Yeah, I died a whole lot.
Segways, Sam, like you're actually trying, I think, and now they work, and I don't know if I like it.
I've got a list of like 20, and I'm just ticking them off.
That's why it took you so long to get ready.
So, I'm playing Celeste. Well, I played Celeste. I finished it. I didn't get everything. I expect to go back to get more stuff, but I finished the story. And then there was like another thing at the end, like an epilogue sort of a thing. Actually, there's an actual epilogue, and then there's another level after it, and so I just looked that up on YouTube because I just didn't have time to do that. But I like that game a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
I think it's probably one of my new favorite games. I don't see any game. I highly expect this will be my game of the year. At least in the top 3 for sure. It's just wow, this game is really, really good.
Dude. So, Erica, can I interrupt?
Yes.
There was weeks and weeks ago, I told Allison that there was 2 scenes in particular that we need to talk about for Moment of the Year. I said to her at the time, I said the feather and the level up part.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
The feather, I don't know if that hit me as much. I got like a little frustrated because I had trouble with it. But the level up for sure though. Yes, definitely. But yeah, so I will say that I messed with the assist mode quite a bit as well because I am recovering from a thumb injury, and you need your thumb a whole lot in that game. So, I tried pretty much everything. They have an option for lowering the game speed, which is probably the one I did the most. There's an infinite stamina one where you could just hang on to like whatever you're climbing forever. There's an air dash one where you can either get double the amount of dashes or infinite dashes if you want. And then there's also invincibility if you want that too. So I tried all of them. I ended up using the game speed one the most though, because it still felt hard, but not undoable for me. Because like that game is about, overcoming something difficult. And so it kind of matters that it is difficult, at least in my opinion. So I didn't I could have turned on invincibility. I could have turned on infinite air dashes and just, rushed through that game. But I felt like making it hard for myself was the better way to go because that game, and also the game gives you pep talks like throughout the whole thing. It's like, hey, you can do this. Like, you're great. You've got this. Don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, I do have this. You're right. So, it was nice. I liked feeling like I was working hard for something and getting to it at the end, I guess. But, I can't recommend that game enough. It's really, really, really good. The story's really, really good too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with all that.
Yeah, Xavier and I were streaming it for a little while, and we were doing like 1 hour a week. That is definitely not the way to play this game.
I bet.
I was so not into it at all when we were doing that, and now that Xavier's been playing it on his own too. He's been getting everything in the game now. He's like doing the B-sides. He's doing like, he's gotten all the strawberries now. He's just very excited about it. And I actually, because we share our Steam games, I had to buy it on the Switch so I could play it because he won't give it up. So it's very, very good.
I'll try it. I bounced off that game super, super, super hard when it came out, but I just set it to download again. I'll try to dive into it again.
How far did you get before?
I don't remember. It wasn't very far. I was at an extraordinarily high stress point because I was trying to figure out how I was going to make moving across the country work. So I basically remember playing that game and just being like, this is hard and I don't like it. And I think assist modes are amazing and I'm glad that they're there as an accessibility option for people who are not like me. I am the sort that like, it's very hard for me to even like swallow my pride, I guess, and play a game on easy if difficulty options are given. So like basically like if I'm the only way I'll turn a difficulty thing down is if something is really, really hard for me and I'm not having fun, but I have to play the game. For example, like certain series that I've been working through the last week or so. But generally I don't personally like playing on anything but whatever the default is. I also don't like bumping the difficulty up either. I like to play everything the way that it's like normal. That's what I want.
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm very I definitely force myself to do normal to the point where it might be better if I go down to easy because it makes my life better.
It definitely took me some convincing to decide to start messing with the assist mode because you do actually have to exit out of the game to turn it on, and so it kind of felt like, okay, I'm giving up on like playing it normally, but I don't know, I got to a point where my thumb started hurting real bad.
Just
like, okay,
I don't mean
time.
any of that as like I wish that I had the ability to do that.
No, I know, I
would
totally
probably
get
enjoy
it.
Stuff more.
I was in a spot where it's just like I was like, okay, I need to just be okay with assist mode right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I'm glad it's there because I think that it should be there.
And I like that there were so many options too. Like it wasn't that I could just be invincible, because I don't think that game would be as fun if I were invincible. I dropped the speed down to like 80 and it was super fun.
I think the other thing about it too, and I'm trying to choose my words really carefully because I don't want to come off as like as like derogatory towards any of the games I'm like bringing up, but like when I kind of got like a vibe of it just from the little bit that I played right at the beginning. I don't know that it's like this through the whole way through, of it being like of the tone of the characters not really jiving with me in a similar way to the way that the tone of Undertale didn't jive with me at all. And it's not that I think that stuff is poor or bad, it's just very not my style of storytelling. But that may just be because I was kind of already approaching it from a kind of antagonistic place. So because like I was one of the people that when Undertale was really big, I was like, I just didn't get it, and it made me mad that I didn't get it. And I never really got it, but I got over it and just was like, this is just not my thing. But it's fine that it's...
Guys, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
I was just going to talk about an article that I sent to you guys, which was about it was from Kotaku, and it was about the designer of the game and how it helped him with his mental illness struggles and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. I recommend that article a lot. But looking there's breaking news. Then I'm sorry to get ahead of ourselves, but let me just read the headline: Valve buys Firewatch developer Campo Santo.
I just saw that.
Wow.
That's crazy breaking news.
Wow.
That is extremely exciting.
The end of my thing was that I'm going to try playing Celeste again, and I reinstalled it on my Switch.
Dude.
So.
It's okay. I didn't like Theo at all. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I didn't like Theo, the character.
I don't get that, but okay.
I mean,
I liked him.
Okay.
I like Firewatch a whole bunch.
Yeah. I don't like Firewatch, but I like the people that made it, and I like everything about Firewatch except for the story. Let's put it that way.
That's fair.
Again, I don't get that, but okay.
Yeah, but it's we've kind of talked about this. My least favorite narrative trope in have everyone here played Firewatch, or is everyone who is going to play it played it?
I've only played the beginning of Firewatch. Please don't spoil it for me. I'm incredibly invested in it. Me and Fiona play it together like 10 minutes a month.
Okay. Then I'll say it this. It does my least favorite narrative trope in
Wait, I'm just gonna take my
all
headphones off. You
storytelling.
wave when you're done.
Okay.
Fair point.
The fact that game builds it up as it's going to be some awesome weird X-Files shit and then nothing happens, I was so pissed off. That said,
I understand that, but at the same time, I kind of like dig that choice. Where
I so much every time a story does that, I think it's so lazy because it's like either tell an emotional story without any supernatural elements or tell a story with supernatural elements. Don't build me up and then tear me down.
I kind of agree.
We've had this conversation, or like
we have,
we have,
but
yeah.
Anyways,
anyway, I
we'll
love
come back to it another time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
everything else about Firewatch. I love, and I'm a huge Campo Santo fan. I listen to Idle Thumbs and everything.
Yeah, let's get back to that news story when we news, because that's pretty cool.
That is for sure.
In the Valley of Gods looks amazing. So
In the Valley of Gods confirmed to be Half-Life 3. Half-Life 3 is a walking simulator.
Honestly, considering I just want the story to be resolved for Half-Life, so I'd take it. Nobody else would like it, but I'd be like, fine.
Speaking of getting a resolution, Pat, what have you been playing?
So I have I've been playing a lot of stuff. I'll talk about the game that I brought specifically, but I will briefly touch on. I've been working my way through all of the God of War games prior to the new one because I hadn't played them. I tried to get into them when they came out, but I always bounced off of them. And I've kind of been working my way through them one by one. I think the first two are disappointing. I think the first one in particular is pretty overrated. The second one, it starts off super strong, and then about halfway through, I found it to be to kind of fall apart for me. However, Chains of Olympus, the PSP game that I played, the remaster that was released for PS3 of, I actually think that's a pretty cool game. It's pretty short and it's very concise, and I thought the enemies were better than the first and second games, and the encounter design was cool. And the Gauntlet of Zeus that you get in that game, the weapon, feels super good. So and then I'm now like about a third of the way through God of War 3 too, and that one is better than the first two. In terms of its feel, there's other issues I have with it, but
God of War 3-2 being the one that starts off with a pop song.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been interesting to play them, even though I haven't super loved my time with the first two games in the series. And it's making me want to play the new one more and more. I have it on the way, so I will get to it as soon as I get through them. But the game that I brought today was one that I kind of just got today, so as it were. Have any of you guys played a game called The Ship before or heard of it?
I've heard of it.
Heard of it. Haven't played it though.
Yeah, usually people haven't. It kind of was a major flop in a lot of ways. So The Ship is one of my favorite multiplayer games ever. It's up there with like Battlefield 1942. It would probably be between one of those two, to be honest, as to which one's my favorite. But The Ship was this weird. It started off as a Half-Life 2 mod, and then kind of made its way to a full game. Just a really weird game where you sort of spawn in. I think the player count back then was around like 24 players. Kind of spawn in. You're a random person on like a 1920s cruise ship that's ostensibly like traveling across the Atlantic, and we're talking like very Titanic kind of aesthetics, and there's just like kind of weapons scattered around the ship, and you're given a person that you have to kill, and then you are given as a target to someone else for them to kill. And the goal is to kind of suss out who your target is, because all you're given is just a general location of where they are on the ship. So you have to kind of find them, figure out who they are, and then stalk them around to kill them kind of in private, so that the security on the ship doesn't see you do it. And then additional wrinkles on it are that there's like a table of weapons. It might be worth more to kill someone with a fire axe than a pistol. So you kind of want to try to kill with the best weapon you can, and then you also have a set of needs, kind of like in The Sims, where you have to like use the bathroom and eat food and sleep. And when you go to sleep, the screen gets black, so you can't see, and someone could sneak up on you and kill you and stuff like that. So it was just a really unique, interesting multiplayer game that was not at all about Twitch skill, and it was all about like blending into the environment, catching somebody off guard, noticing when someone was kind of acting weird towards you, and maybe they were trying to hunt you, and the whole thing was just really, really cool. Had a ton of odd little elements. There were like environmental trap kills you could do if you could figure out where someone was going to go and stuff. And it was just a really fun game. It had a really limited audience, so it was only played regularly for about 4 months, and then it kind of fell off. But a really dedicated community has kind of stuck around it, and you'll still see ship servers occasionally online with like 2 people in them today. This game came out like years and years ago. So anyway, I have always been one to beat the drum of that game and that developer. They released another game called Bloody Good Time a couple years later that was a lot worse than the ship, but they were trying to recapture some of it. And then they have a game coming out in a few days called Murderous Pursuits, which is the game that I played to bring this week. And it's in open beta this weekend. You can get it just if you go on Steam and search for Murderous Pursuits, it's available. It's a similar theme to the ship. You're on an airship this time, but it looks really nice. But it's the same kind of like 1920s, 30s aesthetic. The airship travels through time, which isn't really relevant for anything, but it's kind of funny detail that they add. It's a way simpler version of that kind of multiplayer mechanic. There's no needs for your characters now. Did any of you guys play the Assassin's Creed multiplayer?
In Brotherhood?
No.
I played it
A little bit.
I think Brotherhood only.
Yeah, in any of them. Brotherhood had it, 3 had it. I think 4 even had it still, but I could be wrong. So Murderous Pursuits is pretty similar to the Assassin's Creed multiplayer in a lot of ways. It's not a shooter anymore. Like the ship was like, you have a gun, you have a crosshair in the middle of your screen, you point it at people and shoot the gun. And Murderous Pursuits, each weapon, you just approach your target and left click them, and then it kills them. But it's still you're given a target, you don't know who they are, what they look like, you just know a general location for them. And then you have to track them down and kill them, and there's someone who's hunting you. There's like a couple of like interesting abilities that they add in as wrinkles, and the maps are really cool and well designed. I don't know, I think it's a lot of fun. I hope that there's more progression stuff, like cosmetic stuff, but it's a weird game because you don't want your cosmetics to stand out too much because you're trying to blend in with a crowd of NPCs too. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of legs it has, because I don't know how ready for it people are, given that Assassin's Creed multiplayer was not necessarily beloved, but I just like how unique and different it is. And I hope that they find a bigger audience. The open beta I was playing this morning, and I couldn't match with any people. I just kept getting bots, which is a little disconcerting. But it's a fun game. I would definitely recommend checking it out this weekend while it's free, to see if it's your kind of thing.
When it comes out, will it also be free, like free to play, or is
No, the price on it's $20, which is a little. I think it's reasonable, but there's also only 4 maps, so I can see how people would like not be okay with that. So
only 4 maps right now, or they've confirmed only 4 maps for. Oh, I guess it's out in a couple days. So
yeah, there's only 4 maps in the beta, so unless they're holding one for release, I don't think $5 per map, given that the maps are pretty elaborate and fairly large. We're not talking like Hitman level size, but they're big and have a lot of stuff in them. So I don't think that that's a bad deal personally, but
it looks really neat from the open beta page. Like I really like the art style.
The art is great. Yeah.
I enjoyed the Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like I don't have time to play something like this. But
the thing that I found in playing the beta this morning, I kind of started off playing it a lot like the ship, but it's really more like you almost have to play it more like you're playing Spy Party or something. In that, but it's symmetrical, and it's very interesting. Of like, I stand here and do this idle animation, and I watch the bar that tells me what direction my target is in, and then try to pick out, like, oh, I know that door is roughly this far away, and it's telling me that my target is over there. So that person that just came through the door, that must be my target. But because there's abilities, like there's a counter ability, so I can, if I think you're trying to kill me right now, I can pop a counter ability, and then for the next like 15 seconds, if you attack me, you will die instead. But you don't know that I popped that counter ability. Only I do. So like, you have to be really careful about how you approach people, because if they know that you're coming to kill them, they have tools they can use to ruin your time. So I do wish that it had a little bit more, the weapons had a little bit more variety. Right now they're all functionally the same. They just have a different animation because you just left click to kill people. And I hope that they continue to add maps and do something else, like something more with the progression, so it's not just like match after match after match. I think it'd be neat if they added some abilities that were unlocked through progression. Right now there's like 6 abilities you can pick from, but they're all unlocked at the start. But I think it could have legs, and I hope that it does well, because I think that studio has just some awesome ideas about multiplayer that kind of over and over again, their games have come out at either bad times or had like maybe just the wrong art style. Like Bloody Good Time is a great game, except for the part where it kind of doesn't look great, and they use this really ham-fisted Hollywood movie set art style that sort of sucks. And I don't know. I would like to see one of their games succeed, I guess.
How much do you like boats?
How much do I like boats?
Yeah. I feel like every game you bring has a boat in it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I like boats a lot. I prefer boat-based experiences to non-boat-based experiences.
Wow.
Hey, the game that you guys are bringing next has a boat in it.
Does it?
We need to get out of the pocket of big boat on this podcast.
Yeah.
If we need to get into some small boats, like the one in. So someone else gonna finish my sentence.
In God of War, Sam was sleeping on that segue.
No, I was going to do my own segue. I was hoping for this one to crash and burn, somewhat like Kratos in God of War 1 to 3.
Ooh.
Oh,
My
yeah.
segue was better.
I think Andre's segue was better, but Sam's was pretty accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, we're all here for terrible segues. If they're good, then people will stop listening.
It's the wrong podcast if you're looking for
yeah.
good segues.
So we've talked for what was I would say 90% of the planned length of the entire podcast about other games.
Books.
And books and boats. So whilst we were going to have a longer God of War conversation here, I think it might be useful for us to keep it a little bit shorter this week, and then come back with some more thoughts once more people have played it, and we'd feel less bad about spoiling the early hours of the game.
I think
how's that fit with everyone else?
If everyone's going to play it, we could even talk about doing a spoiler cast, kind of off cycle too.
I would be fine with that.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Yo, God of War is good.
It is really good. I mean, I don't want to necessarily go into something with a hyped up perspective right away, just because I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to go in and be like, this is going to be the greatest game of all time, and then go, when, you know, it's a game. But I've really liked it so far, to the point where turning it off so that I could do this podcast was kind of like, oh, do I have to?
Yeah. When I went to bed last night, I was pissed.
I bet that's going to be me tonight, because I've been playing it most of the day, and it's really fantastic. Like it's been getting a lot of hype, but I feel like that hype is deserved.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It looks beautiful. I really like the characters in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like even the side characters I'm finding I connect to, and that I really enjoy. And And then the combat feels really good. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's really fun. Although I've definitely died an embarrassing number of times. Just like
It's really hard.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me.
I started on like the difficulty 1 up from normal, and that first combat encounter, I died like 10 times.
Okay, I
It was
feel a little
fun.
bit better now because I'm playing it on normal, and I mean I get through everything, but I've died at fair number of times, and I'm like, man, am I just bad at this game? But I feel like you have to once you get used to the kind of the rhythm of it, and you get used to the fact that you kind of have to be careful, it really it gets a little bit more manageable. But man, it's good.
My only complaint is it never. So I'm real far in. I'm probably 20-ish hours, and that game starts off very slow, and then it redlines for like 5 minutes, and then it hasn't gotten back to that point, in my opinion. Like it hasn't gotten back up to that really high of the very early game. If I assume those of you who've played it know what I'm talking about with like that boss fight. It just like red lines right there, and then it's like, okay, we got some ups and downs and the pacing, but nothing has matched that. I hope like the end of the game gets back up there with like the coolness, but that's kind of my one complaint so far, is they hit it out of the park at the beginning, and I'm like, okay, now we're gonna play it safe.
So I would sum up my opinion on God of War so far is that it's everything that I wanted out of The Last of Us without any of the stuff that I hated out of that game. It's got like amazing characters, amazing storytelling. It looks fantastic. All the things that it has in common with The Last of Us. It has no terrible forced stealth. The combat is actually good. And I didn't hate every single combat encounter. But I did play. I am playing God of War on the easiest difficulty because that's how I play video games. Because I'm old and my reflexes are slow. I barely ever have to dodge anything or use my shield. I just kind of throw my axe at stuff and then run at it. I don't really know how far I am in. I'd probably say close to 10 hours.
What's like a non-spoilerly description of what you're doing?
I have just come back from the first place that you go to.
Okay.
And I'm doing stuff in the open world.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more than one place you go to. Damn it.
Well,
I think I'm just before that.
I got the ability to open those like secret doors with like
the Odin doors
shape. Yeah, I got the ability to open
Odin's
those.
in this game. I quit this podcast.
Debate. No, wait. The word Odin is in this game. The word Odin is in this game. I cannot confirm nor deny his appearance in the game.
Would you say that you are humbled to be in the presence of such digital divinity when you play God of War? Because that's how Game Informer described God of War for PlayStation.
Which Riker wrote that review?
I'm not gonna out whoever wrote this review. I actually don't even know because it's so bad that I don't think anyone would be proud of this today.
It's a rad game.
To piggyback on something that Sam was saying, Cheska yesterday was talking about it with me. She's like, it seems like Sony Santa Monica kind of took a page out of Naughty Dog's book, or maybe even had someone from Naughty Dog like consulting, just with how much they've improved their story game and their character game.
That's really cool.
What fucking black magic do they have for like the
no cut stuff?
No, well, that like that's a cool thing. Like I'm not like blown away by the technical. I'm blown away by the like the look of this game. Everything looks incredible. I haven't had a single moment where I'm like, oh yeah, this all looks pretty. Oh, this texture is like kind of grimy and weird. They didn't think anyone was gonna come over here. Everything's looked fucking amazing.
I normally don't take screenshots in games, and I've taken several screenshots because I'm like, look at how pretty this is. I gotta save this. And
Does it have
like,
a photo mode?
Not
I
yet.
haven't.
Not
Yeah,
yet. It's being
coming.
patched
It's
in.
coming.
Come on, it's 2018.
You can make Kratos smile.
You can.
Yeah, and it's so good.
The
Um,
other thing is that Kratos is now being voiced by Christopher Judge, who was Teal'c on Stargate SG-1.
Awesome. I was
Which is-
hoping they
Also-
changed voice actors because the original voice actor is bad.
He's
The-
also in Snow Dogs.
It is very trippy because in the mid 2000s, I was very into Stargate. So it's like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
is going on here?
I mean, who wasn't really?
Stargate was
Please tell
really
me
good.
this. Yeah,
I
okay,
was
good.
really into Snow Dogs.
Snow
I
Dogs
was
is
really into Stargate also.
okay.
Snow Dogs, I don't think
I was
holds up.
more
I
of
tried to
an
watch
Stargate
it,
Atlantis
and
fan than SG-1, but I still loved SG-1 too. But
I
All right, so we
definitely
all
saw
love
some-
Stargate.
Let's just start a Stargate fix.
You know,
Every
honestly, if we
Stargate.
wanted to do like an episode by episode Stargate cast, I would not say no.
I
you
could
wanna-
tell you all the plot twists in every Stargate episode before they happen because that show is extremely predictable.
if you want
Yeah,
to do a,
you know what? That's fine. But
Yeah, as is like every television show from that time period. There is no like unpredictable TV at that time.
it kind of
Well,
is, but at the
she's
same
so
time, it's like
dogs.
fun, kind of goofy TV
Yeah.
sci-fi, and also Stargate like totally knows it and kind of makes
Yeah.
fun.
And
of
and
itself.
none of those shows had Richard Dean Anderson. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pat,
What-
let me
what-
introduce you to a television show called Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's a lot better.
just one last quick thing about God of War. With the storytelling, I really appreciate the way that they make nods to the previous games and like the history without like directly addressing it. Like it's all pretty under wraps. That might change. It's definitely changing where I'm at in the story, but like there's a lot of like subtle storytelling that just kind of happens with the way the camera is framed or
Mhm.
the way the characters talk to each other and like some story time in the boat. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cinematic stuff that even with games that are quote unquote cinematic, I feel like there's a lot of almost film techniques that I've seen where I'm like, okay, they're using, like a different focus, like really, really interestingly, or that's an interesting way to frame the scene. And it's really great without also, I mean, there are cut scenes, but none of them seem like they're absurdly long either.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I kind of just want to say like super positive on this game. Really want to see where it goes. Really enjoying the combat. Really finding it very satisfying. Although I'm finding some of the puzzles a little frustrating, but mostly because it requires a lot of the time precision, well-timed axe throws, which I need to work on.
There have been a few of like the rune puzzles that have been kind of obnoxious. in
Yeah,
that way.
there was one
Yeah.
I kept really trying over and over to get, and I realized I'm not gonna get it, and I had to go leave because it was a lot. It was a
Was
lot
it-
of like quick precision.
Was it near the end of the place where you go? Well, you think you might be leaving there soon, so maybe you don't know, but
I don't think so. It was earlier. There were like spikes and bells.
It's so weird. God of War puzzles are usually so good. It's not true. That was a lie.
I mean, these are totally optional.
yeah.
It's how you get the stuff to increase your health and your rage.
I'm sure
so
they're a lot more
they're-
okay than the old ones too.
there is no puzzle where I'm like, oh man, that was a fantastic puzzle. It's just like,
Yeah.
every puzzle is basically throw your axe
I
somewhere.
mean, were there any that you had to look at a frame by frame video to see how it was done because the timing window is so tight that you can't do it without knowing exactly pixel perfect where to push something? As long as there's not that, it's an improvement.
I did have to look up the location of one rune because I looked for like 10 minutes. I couldn't
Okay.
find it. And
That's fair.
that got
I
really
haven't had to look
obsessive.
any runes up yet. I've looked up a couple of ravens because I could
I-
hear them, and I was like, I know they're here. Alison, my pro tip for bells. I
Yeah,
worked this out whilst doing a puzzle at the end of the section that I've just finished.
yeah.
is you throw the axe to land behind a bell,
Okay.
and
Oh,
then,
and then it-
set yourself up so that you're looking at the other two, and then call it to you, and you can like get all three super quick.
There was a
Also, calling your axe to you is like the most satisfying thing in a game. The end.
Yep.
It
So-
just feels so good.
And most
there was a
satisfying.
moment where I solved a puzzle in the way like you're supposed to solve it that way, and like when I realized that was how you're supposed to solve it, I felt so cool. I was like, oh, because I spent a really long time looking at like, oh, how do I have to get like another item or what's going on, and then I figured out.
That took me about 10 minutes. One of those puzzles where I was like, oh, you have to call the axe to do the puzzle. And once I got that, I was like, this makes so much sense. And now I'm thinking about it for everything. It's really cool. There's a load of cool like moments where I've been like, oh, that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah, and I feel like there have been with the calling the axe and the combat, there's been so many cool moments where I'm like, look what just happened. I called the axe and it like went through 3 enemies. I feel so amazing. Like it I feel like they've managed to make the combat feel cinematic without resorting to it being quick time events. Like every time I play the combat, I feel so cool, but it's like all me. So it feels really fun.
I think like a non-trolling criticism I have of the earlier games is that they fail to do that entirely, in that the controls feel great and the combat feels great from like the I push square button and a really cool animation plays and it's slick, but you feel very disconnected from what you're doing. You feel like I mash square a bunch and the blades do cool stuff and they flip around and then a bunch of guys get Swiss cheesed. And I think that's actually one of the major it's a thing I have a hard time articulating, because it's like, no. The old God of War games feel great, but they don't feel good. It's like a tough thing to kind of put together. So it's great to hear that you have that reaction to the combat in the new one.
I feel like it feels almost the opposite of that description for the combat, at least for me, because I feel like a lot of it makes you be deliberate about
That's great.
about what you do.
That's awesome.
So it feels really good.
So I haven't played any of these games. I've seen quite a bit of 3, and I feel like I kind of know what happens at the end of like all of the games. Is there anything I should know though going into playing this one? Because I'm gonna play this one, and I'm not Pat. I'm not gonna go back and play all the other ones.
I think you should go in blind personally. I've only played the second God of War game halfway through.
They give you.
I played about part of 2 a long time ago, and I haven't watched it.
I would say read a Wikipedia thing. There is so much that I'm getting from having played the 1, 2, and 3. I didn't play Ascension. I played the beginning of Ascension, but it doesn't matter. I'm getting so much from just like little moments that if you hadn't played the games, that like even though I don't remember like all the details, if you hadn't played those games, there are a lot of things that I think would be lost on you.
Okay.
That's kind of part of why the only reason I'm subjecting myself to the entire series and playing like Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta and Ascension is because I want to write this review, this retrospective for the blog. But like, I felt like based on the things I was hearing, it was maybe worthwhile to see a little bit of that stuff. And they're relatively short games, but I've also heard you can read Wikipedias and be pretty okay.
Okay.
If
I don't know. Now I feel like maybe I should play.
No.
No,
You
don't have to play.
You just you need the story. You don't need the experience of playing. Just get like the major plot points, and you'll be like, oh, okay.
If you want to read more than a Wikipedia, all of those games have the entirety of their cutscenes available as like 20-minute YouTube videos. So you could at least go through and watch those. I think you get everything from those. Like the games don't have complex stories at all. Like you could easily cram all of the story in the first God of War into like a 30-minute movie, and you wouldn't lose much.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll do that.
So what? Kratos has switched from the Blades of Chaos, and now he's using an axe. So I thought it might be time to ask you guys 5 trivia questions.
Oh my god.
I knew where that segue was going from the beginning, and I was not here for it.
I'll take it. No, I like that.
I've got a theme for today's quiz.
Is it weed?
421.
I'll tell you, I get high on knowledge. So that's what this quiz is all about. It's not all about knowledge. It's kind of, well, all quizzes are about knowledge. Anyway, this quiz, I had to write a pronunciation guide for myself.
Oh,
Oh no. Is it all Norse mythology?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Good. I can finally win a week.
Dude, I'm Norwegian, so hey.
Question 1. How many followers did USA Trafelig,
I don't know.
Icelandic association promoting faith in the Norse pantheon, have at their last census? Basically, how many people currently register themselves as believing in Norse gods in Iceland, the home of Norse gods? Is it A, 3,900? Is it B, 10,000? Or is it C, 1,100,000?
Wait, say A and B again.
A is 3,900.
Mm-hmm.
B is 10,000.
Okay.
Everybody ready? Okay. Answers, please. If you said A, you're correct.
Mm.
yay.
I don't think
So
a million
everyone gets a
people
point?
live in Scandinavia.
At 330,000, 303 million maybe or something. I don't know. So did everyone get that one right?
No, I got it wrong.
Feeling a little bit hubris from your earlier comment.
That was not a question about Norse mythology. That was a question about census data. Moving on.
Question 2. Niflheim roughly translates to world of the darkness, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. True or false? A being true, being false. So 3, 2, 1, show them. Everyone who put A, you're correct. So Andre and Erica, no points.
Yay.
My camera's backwards. I don't understand why. I hold up my beat backwards.
Question 3. Norse gods were often responsible for multiple things. Thor is well known as the god of thunder, but what is he also god of? Is it A, healing, B, stews, or C, goats? 3, 2, 1, show him. Okay, it is A, it's healing, so nobody gets a point.
I wanted it to be goats.
Yeah, me too.
Goats too.
Props to Andre for going for stews.
Stews would be good too, because I like to be the god of stews and just have people bring me food to eat.
Question 4. This is an easy one for Pat, I'm sure. What is the name of the queen of the gods, Odin's wife? Is it A, Idun, B, Renee, or C, Frigg? Anyone who has watched the Australian soap opera drama, The Almighty Johnsons, where a load of Australian people are actually Norse gods, will know the answer to this question because it features prominently. 3, 2, 1, a show 'em. Anyone who put C is correct. So it's everyone but Andre.
Damn it, I was going to put C and then I switched to the last second.
Frig.
Yeah. Idun is the goddess of apples and
Yeah.
other stuff.
I hesitated for a second because I was like, wait.
I think that Odin had an affair with Idun, but
I
you
don't know how much
Norse
mythology
gods.
you've read.
Odin's
Gods
out.
get around.
Fucking Zeus
Finally.
transforms into a snake and like has sex with a lady. Like, what?
Yep.
So the snake has it. Anyway, question 5. What weapon does Odin traditionally wield? Is it A, a hammer, B, an axe, C, a spear. It's a 3, 2, 1. Go on. Everyone put C, you are correct. So that's everyone but Allison.
Is that the last question?
That's the last question. So today, Pat got every question right except one, which was
That's
the
not
one
true.
about census data.
I didn't get the. I said goats for the Thor
Oh,
one.
you said goats. Oh, you
I
missed
did.
it. Oh, yeah. This is the first question that nobody's got right.
To be fair, Thor is god of like 37 different things in Norse mythology, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
might
thought
actually
goat was
be
one of
god of
them.
goats, but that's not. That wasn't on the facts you may not know about Norse gods page that I was reading.
I will. I should have recommended this for my book. I won't talk about it for long. Neil Gaiman did a really good summary and writing of Norse mythology. If you're interested in Norse mythology beyond God of War, you should read Neil Gaiman's. I forgot what he
Oh, I've
calls
been
it,
meaning to read that.
but it's really good.
Okay, I was thinking that I'm going to want to read about some Norse mythology.
It is a really good modernized telling of Norse mythology.
Cool. Thanks.
Fun fact: Thor actually rides a chariot which is pulled by 2 goats, and he can ride it through space in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
The goats are called Tangrisnir and Tangnjosta,
That is
Thor's
part,
kind of a dick.
teeth bearer or teeth grinder.
part of why I guessed that for my answer. To be
Like,
perfectly honest with you,
As I've been playing God of War, I'm just like, man, all the Norse gods suck.
they're assholes. Yeah.
All assholes. Like, what the fuck?
All gods are assholes, I think, is the answer to this
Yeah.
question.
Egyptian mythology is the one that's a little bit. Not all the gods are as bad. Greek and Norse mythology are rough. Celtic mythology is a little more touchy feely, but yeah.
So we are running massively over time. So I think it's best to talk about a couple of the things that we all thought were super interesting here. So for news, you guys wanted to talk about Ben Brode, the game director for Hearthstone, leaving Blizzard.
Yeah, I kind of sent that into the put that in the chat. It's I think somebody else said it earlier too. But it's I don't know that there's a ton to talk about there. It's just he's been there for 10 years. And it's kind of crazy to see him go, and it'll be really interesting. I honestly didn't read if he's already announced his other plans, but
He said he's starting a new company, and they
that's what I
might.
thought. Yeah,
He hasn't decided yet.
And it'll be interesting to see what he does next, whether they do game design or not. He's a cool dude, and he came up with a lot of really great concepts while at Blizzard.
Yeah. For me, I feel like you get a lot of people who leave Blizzard and then don't do anything good. Like David Brevik created Diablo and then left and made Marvel Heroes, which was kind of just like not as good as Diablo. I don't know whether it's the environment or the like support from the upper level, but I feel like a lot of people who leave Blizzard and they're like, I'm doing this thing, and then it's not as good as the thing they did at Blizzard.
Wasn't Torchlight ex Blizzard people?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Which I would also say I don't think is as good as Diablo, but it is good. It's much closer.
So.
I liked Torchlight more than Diablo, but that's because it was comparing a game. Like there was a pretty big gulf of time between them, so I don't think that accounting for time, I don't think that Torchlight was as groundbreaking when it came out as Diablo was when it came out. I will say that some of them left to make Rebel Galaxy later on. And Rebel Galaxy is a very cool little game that is worth checking out if you haven't. It's like
I
an
actually
open world.
own that game.
Yeah,
It was on Plus, so everyone probably owns it.
Yeah, it's like a space capital ship RPG thing. It's pretty cool. It's nothing like it's not as good as Diablo or anything. Like it's not that kind of game either. But it's a cool game. I think it just depends. Sometimes they leave and don't do anything, and sometimes they make decent stuff. But the kind of resources you get access to, a la Blizzard, I think, kind of make it easier to produce great games
just harder to do like unique or new things. It seems like because they're not really they put out like just a few games
Yep.
every few years, so they're not like, oh, I want to work on this new cool thing that I have an idea for. But it's not like Warcraft or StarCraft or Diablo. So
My understanding is that if you have a unique, cool thing that you want to workshop, they're like, cool, make it a HOTS map, or here's a Storm map, or make it a Overwatch character. Like you kind of get funneled to put that idea to use in existing games. So if you have a whole idea for a new game, yeah, they make incredibly solid, incredibly safe products. Put it that way.
So speaking of things that are kind of like Diablo, as I understand it, I was going to say Wolfenstein, Warhammer 40k Inquisitor
I knew that's what you were trying to
Martyr,
say.
is a Diablo-esque RPG, from what I remember, or am I thinking of a different Warhammer game?
Inquisitor Martyr is one of the good-looking Warhammer games, and it is Diablo-like. It's got 3 character classes, action RPG, whole thing.
Cool.
Is it a Warhammer 40k or Warhammer?
It's 40K.
40k, yeah.
Okay.
It's being developed by a company called Neocore Games, and they announced earlier this week that it was going to miss its release date. So it's going to be 3 weeks late, and come out in June, on June 5th.
That's like not even much of a delay.
But what he said during that was, he said, look, I'm going to push the team and we're going to work 90 hours a week for those 3 weeks.
And everyone took that at face value, because
why would you say something like that unless you mean it?
Yeah. It also sounds like something that happens in the game industry.
Yeah.
Crunch is like notorious. Alex is going through crunch. He's not in the game industry, but I believe Alex is still dealing with crunch, and it doesn't sound awesome. So yeah, everyone was like, what? People who wanted the game were like super excited, like, oh yeah, they're working hard on finishing the game. Other people very upset and like, don't do this to your employees.
So weird.
Eventually the people came out and said, oh, it was like PR is like, oh no, it was a joke, like we're not actually doing that, we're working hard, we're not working 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Neocore is a really weird studio. So I still am really looking forward to this game because they've done good work in the past, but they made the Van Helsing series, which you may or may not have heard of, which were Diablo-like. Huh?
I own all of those games, and I've never played them.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're okay. They're not like as good as they're not as good as the best Diablo-like action RPGs, but they're like a tier below the tier that's just below Diablo. Like they're definitely worth playing if you love those kind of games and have played them all. They also made the King Arthur series of games, which was like a mix of like RPG and strategy. So and all of their games are like, they have cool ideas and they mostly get it right, but they always drop the ball on like a couple of really key things that hold the game back from like really being something worth seeking out and recommending. And like Van Helsing, the first game, people were like, this is really cool. It's a simple Diablo-like game. It didn't have a class system. It was just like play. Van Helsing 2, people liked less, but we're like, okay, but we'll see what happens with the third one. And by the third one, they had this like really complicated, overblown class system in the game, and it was just kind of like a bunch of chaff in it. And they released a package that included all of the games together, but it had Van Helsing 3's systems in it, and it was just really mixed messaging from the developer and fans complaining and them meeting people halfway, kind of, but also not. They're an interesting studio. They kind of put their foot in their mouth a lot, so I'm not surprised to hear that they kind of made a mistake there.
I'm super interested in this game because Diablo 3 is my favorite game of all time, so I think it gives me a little bit more of that. And also, it looks like it's coming to console, which is my preferred way to play pretty much all games. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm really hoping they have local co-op in their console version, because I'd like to play that game with my partner on the couch, and because I've been wanting to play something Diablo and she's been wanting to play something 40k-ish, so it kind of works.
Don't make people work 90-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Don't make people work 60-hour weeks. It's not reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. That kind of sucks. Speaking of things that kind of suck, BioWare
Ooh.
Ooh.
hasn't
I
made a good
endorse
game
that.
since Dragon Age 2.
Sure. I haven't played Origin, so I can't speak to that.
I thought Dragon Age
I'm sorry.
Inquisition was
Inquisition is what I meant to say.
one of the most boring games I've ever played, and I love Dragon Age so much that I've read multiple tie-in novels.
Inquisition, I've tried to get into it like 10 times because I love the characters and story in BioWare games, but man, they did not do good quest design in that game at all.
The characters and story are just not present in Inquisition for me. Like the really poor character design in terms of like the way they talk, and the group makeup seems really weird. Like there's loads of things I have issue with that game.
So anyway, it was a news story.
Mm.
Who's it? Who's Casey Hudson? Is he the one who's quoted? I don't remember. Whoever is like in charge of Anthem is saying they have a heavy
it's Casey
story
Hudson.
focus going for Anthem now, and he cites. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I came in at the end of Mass Effect Andromeda, and people were saying, oh, we want story DLC that talks about what happened with this, and so we're going to try really hard to give people the story that they want, or whatever."
And a complete story, I think, hopefully, is what he wants to deliver.
Like, my dude, they made that Mass Effect story in like less than 18 months, in like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it took them to write it and then get everything made. And then Anthem's like a Destiny-like game. So if it's like the story in Destiny is nothing special. So
I actually thought the story in Destiny 2 was pretty good.
It's very simple, I think, is the thing. It's like
It's
I would
told.
agree. I would say it's both pretty good and nothing special. I think both of those descriptors are are pretty accurate. I don't think those games should have complex stories. I don't really want to, like, if it's a Destiny-like game that's about like lots of loot and like progression elements, I don't really want to have to wait for the people I'm doing a co-op run with to sit through a cutscene, like kind of want to like
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know that it needs a ton of story, as long as if they can tell the story through the environments and through what you're doing, that's fine. But
what if they had an alternate way to tell the story? Say a downloadable app where you could read the backstories of things that you encounter in the game. It could be, modeled after a book or grimoire. I think that's a great way to tell stories.
Yeah, Destiny was pretty great.
Let me talk to you about the Infinite Forest.
Let me talk to you about how the story in Destiny 1 was more interesting than the story in Destiny 2.
The story in Destiny 1 is so weird and so cool, and is about like a space religion.
Wasn't like Oryx? Oryx was the fallen king or whatever, right?
Yeah, all of the Hive, like everything about the Hive is cool as fuck.
Wasn't Oryx like
Oryx was
transgender? Was there something in there?
I think he was.
The wizards are female.
Yeah.
No, but there's something about like Oryx is like transgender.
Like, is Craig in there too?
I don't know. It's
yeah.
I read a little bit of that. I was like, what? And then I went and I read the Wikipedia page, and now I don't remember.
Yeah.
Stuff is weird.
The Oryx is transgender.
Yeah.
Like using like their space magic. Like, I'm going to be like a different gender now, I think, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There's the story behind that transition is definitely kind of limited and strangely told, but I think
it's
that
in a grimoire card, and it's just like,
yeah,
if you didn't read this, which 99% of the people never did.
Yeah, but is that on the grimoire or is that on the 99% of people?
That's on the grimoire.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's on the grimoire.
You'd at least get you'd get a much higher percentage reading that stuff if it was in the game, like in Destiny.
I will give you that. I think that the grimoire should have also existed in some form within the game, in like a codex or something. So I will say that I agree with that, but I think that storytelling is more interesting than the way that they told the story in Destiny 2, which again isn't bad, but is serviceable. I don't know. The story in Destiny 2 felt like I am watching a like early 2000s science fiction movie where those movies weren't amazing, but it was all right, and I sat through it, and I didn't ask for a refund. But I don't know. I also don't want Anthem to be like a co-op Mass Effect where I'm in big conversation sequences and stuff with a bunch of people around. I don't know.
I mean,
Did anyone? Two sidebar questions. Did anyone play the Old Republic?
I was going to say the Old Republic does that, and then they give you the option to have everyone vote to skip a cutscene and stuff like that.
I loved the way the Old Republic told stories with like me and my best friend played it through together from start to finish. Never played a minute of that game without each other, and we got like there became like ongoing running jokes about how like whenever there was a decision that involved murdering someone, my character always randomly got picked to be the decision maker, and like it was a really, really good experience, and I would 100% support that in a non-Star Wars universe. Also, sorry, carry on, Pat.
I was gonna say, if they just make it like Old Republic, though, I agree. I like Old Republic, but like I could just go play Old Republic and not get invested in a new huge loot system and stuff, you know.
But it's a different kind of game.
Yeah. It is, but I don't. Well, I guess my point is that if it turns into the Old Republic, but you pull the trigger to shoot instead of push the one button to attack, I don't think that's compelling either. So I would hope that they would handle that differently, because I don't know. I think there are lessons to learn from it. But
Okay. So what if you've got like these lobbies, and you have 16 players in a lobby, and then you go to a quest board and you can pick up a quest, and then when you go, people can join your quest if you've done it before, but if you've seen the cutscenes, and then they can use like a code to get into your quest. But then people can join, but if you kick them, then that space is still filled up. So then, but the game is still harder.
This sounds like the perfect multiplayer system. And why doesn't this already exist?
Oh, it does in Monster Hunter World.
Is anyone looking forward to Anthem?
Hunt.
Is anyone hyped for Anthem? Is anyone looking forward to it?
I'm cautiously optimistic in the same way I was towards The Division.
I think it
love The
looks
Division.
really cool. Like I really enjoy like the Iron Man-esque sci-fi stuff they have going with like the suits and stuff. So I hope it's cool. But I'm
interested in it, definitely.
I fell off Destiny real hard, so if it's just more of that, I don't think it'll be for me.
Yeah, I'm planning on playing it, but I don't know if it'll keep me invested for the long haul.
I'm very interested to see what happens with that game, in the sense that I think I don't want any game to be bad. I want every game that comes out to be the best game it can be. So I hope that it's very good. But more than, I don't know that I need a game like that in my life. If it's good, I'll play it because I like to play good games. But more, I'm just interested to see how this goes for BioWare, because I think that they have a lot to prove, and I think that they have a lot to recover from. And I think this is pretty make or break for them. I think if they fumble this, they've got one more shot, maybe at like a big franchise revival, probably a Dragon Age game or something.
Well, they're working on Dragon Age 4 at the moment.
Right.
They can't officially say it, but the executive producer put out a tweet that was like, "Hey guys, just to announce, I'm working on X, Y, Z, and I'm also redacted producer on Dragon Age 4 redacted cough." So
yeah. I think that'll be this is like they've had a kind of mixed response, bad response. If Anthem is not a very positive response, they've got one more shot, and then they're kind of done, which I would hate to see. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Just reboot Jade Empire. Easy.
That's fine with me. That's a great game.
So good.
Speaking of it being the last chance for BioWare to turn it around, what if we turned it around and put it in park and finish this podcast?
We're gonna back in or pull through.
I love that
Thanks, everyone.
Good translation.
Mostly
3 point.
because it's like almost it's gone 1 a.m. and I'm tired.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Well, maybe if someone had been on time.
Blame Windows 10.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is,
You were here before Sam.
a wizard is never late. He arrives exactly when he means to.
And then he complains about the time. He's an old man.
Look, it's all Japan Standard Time's fault that we're doing this anyway, this late. We used to do it an hour earlier. Anyway, you can find me online.
Wait, one thing. I really hope this Valve Camposanto thing means that Delilah's going to be a character in Dota 2.
Yes. I also really hope that it means Campo Santo's writing halfway.
I can't take credit for this joke, but now in Firewatch 2, there's going to be a lot of hats.
So I think one of the writers for Campo Santo joked about how they had written a Dota 2 announcer pack for like Henry and Delilah.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but I think that was said on a Idle
They've
Thumbs
actually,
podcast.
yeah, they've done like they have like the entire script written. So maybe that happens.
I'd be very surprised if that doesn't happen. So this has been Gaming Fix, episode 16. Sorry that we're not going to do a long-winded intro where we all get crazy and forget that we're talking about things, but I'm already kind of doing it. You can find Gaming Fix on every super cool social network at Fix Podcast. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It'd be really appreciative if you could give us all a follow. We're trying to post something cool every day on every network. So whether it is actually cool or not, you can decide, and you can tell us that by following us on those networks and saying things to us. You can follow us individually as well if you like. Most of us are linked from each individual social network platform, but you can find me at SGCH on Twitter and Instagram. I also wanted to do a little quick shout out actually for another podcast which isn't anything to do with me. So my really old friends of mine, Dan and Jim, have just started doing a rock and metal podcast called Slowly We Rock. They have really, really good album art, and one of the concepts for the show that they're going to be working on is listening to every single Iron Maiden album and reviewing it with someone who's never listened to Iron Maiden before.
That's really good.
Which they're calling Maiden Voyage.
That's very good.
Damn it.
That's good.
If you want to listen to British people talk about rock and metal, those are your boys. And if anyone else ever wants to plug anything, obviously feel free. But I listened to their podcast and I don't like rock and metal, and I thought it was very funny. And Alex, where can people find you on the internet? Alison?
How do I follow that up?
What's
I
that
just
app?
with the truth that
Shazam that noise. Shazam that noise.
that you can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENY2I.
Cool. And Andre?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter at coolslaw COOLSL4W. I will be not on the podcast next week. No, I will be on next week. Never mind. It's the week after that I won't be here.
The same as well. I'm also missing the week after that. Next week, I may have some extremely spoiler-free thoughts for Avengers Infinity War because I will be seeing it on Wednesday night at midnight. And also next Saturday, I did forget to say, I am going on my friend Stacey's 24-hour live podcast for charity. I'm doing the 8:30 p.m. slot. So half an hour of me and my friend Stacey bitching about how bad the How I Met Your Mother finale was. Sorry for interrupting that, Erica. Now go for it.
I liked the How I Met Your Mother finale.
Okay,
and you can also
over. It's fine. We had a good run, 16 episodes.
It made sense. Okay,
Okay, we're doing that thing where we talk about other stuff instead of doing our thing.
Yeah.
All right. You go listen to my other podcast, Tempered Expectations about wrestling and video games. And you can follow me on Twitter Oh, thank you. It's and you could follow me on Twitter at Erica, spelled AIREHCUH. You cannot catch me on Twitch with any regularity anymore, though.
And Pat, last but not least.
You can find me on Twitch, which I barely ever stream, so I don't know. I streamed some MLB The Show this week, but find me on Twitch and Twitter at JesterPC, and you can find my blog at gamingandcompetence.com. I've got 3 more games to go in my God of War retrospective. Well, 4 to write about, 3 to play.
You can do it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Does one of those 3 include 2018's The God of War?
No, that's the 4th one. That's the 4th and final. That's not part of the retrospective because it's new.
It's old to me.
It will be to all of us probably by next weekend.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe to us on every channel that is physically available. I'm sure we'll get our own YouTube channel at some point soon and put up all of these videos as archives. We also have you can subscribe to us on iTunes. Please rate and review us because that increases our position in the charts. Also, please tell a friend about our podcast if you enjoy listening to it. I've told a few friends of mine, and I don't think any of them listen. But it's hard to get British people to do things that they know.
Send us pictures of cats
Hard
too,
to get
please.
people to do things.
Yeah. We'll start doing some more posting online, and if you want to interact with us, please get in touch with us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. We're cool people, I promise. Thanks everyone for listening, and good night.
Bye.
Bye.
So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Boy.